The billionaire stepped out of the sleek black car and paused for a moment, looking at the grand estate that stretched before him. Years had passed since he last saw this place. Years spent building his empire, traveling the world, and dealing with endless responsibilities. Now finally he was home. He could feel a mixture of excitement and nervousness in his chest. The estate looked exactly as he remembered, but there was a strange quietness that made him pause. The gates opened silently, welcoming him back to a home that had seen laughter, joy, and now, he hoped, a reunion with the most important part of his life, his twins. As he walked through the familiar halls, he noticed the polished floors reflecting the soft sunlight streaming through the tall windows. Everything seemed pristine, but he sensed a subtle tension lingering in the air. The staff greeted him politely, their smiles warm but slightly forced. He waved and nodded, trying to shake off the feeling that something was off. After so many years, he was eager to see his children and make up for the time he had been away. He made his way to the twins' room, anticipation building with each step. When he opened the door, he saw them playing quietly with their toys. They looked older than he remembered, their faces more mature yet still full of innocence. He called out their names softly, and they turned toward him, their eyes wide. For a moment, their expressions were unsure, and he noticed a flicker of hesitation. The twins hesitated before rushing into his arms, as if testing whether he was really there, really theirs. He hugged them tightly, feeling a rush of emotion he hadn't realized he had been holding back. The children's small arms clung to him, and he whispered how much he had missed them. After a few minutes, they pulled back, their eyes still watching him carefully. He smiled and suggested they show him what they had been doing, eager to reconnect through the simple joy of play. They led him around the room, showing him their drawings, toys, and little achievements. He laughed genuinely at their stories, trying to bridge the gap of the years he had missed. But even in this light moment, he noticed subtle signs, hesitant movements, quick glances at the door, and a cautiousness in their smiles. It was almost as if they were always waiting for something, expecting something. The billionaire sat down with them on the floor, wanting to spend time in their world. He asked questions about their day-to-day life, their friends, and what they liked to eat. The twins answered politely but seemed guarded, as if their responses were carefully measured. He tried to laugh it off, attributing it to shyness or the natural effect of having a parent absent for so long. He reminded himself that trust took time to rebuild, especially after years apart. Yet in the back of his mind, a small seed of unease began to grow. Later, he met with the staff who had been taking care of the children. They spoke politely about routines, meals, and school, but he noticed discrepancies in their stories. Nothing major, just small details that didn't line up perfectly with what he remembered or had instructed. He asked more questions, trying to appear casual, but inside, a sense of suspicion began to creep in. Everything seemed perfect on the surface, but there was an underlying current he couldn't ignore. Something about the way the staff avoided direct answers or quickly changed topics made him frown. He spent the evening walking through the house, reconnecting with the familiar rooms and spaces. The dining hall was exactly as he remembered, the garden still blooming with the flowers he had once planted with his own hands. But the quietness of the house felt unnatural. Even the laughter of the twins, which had initially brought him comfort, now seemed cautious and restrained. It was like a warning, a subtle message that all was not as it should be. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into a carefully maintained illusion, and the truth lay hidden somewhere beneath the surface. That night, as he watched the twins sleep in their beds, he felt a mixture of love, relief, and a lingering doubt. Their breathing was even, their small hands clinging to stuffed animals, but the look of unease in their eyes earlier stayed with him. He wondered what they had endured while he was away, what they had learned about trust and safety. He promised himself he would do everything he could to protect them, to ensure their happiness and security from that moment onward. The next morning, he joined the twins for breakfast, trying to keep the atmosphere light and cheerful. He asked about their favorite meals and made jokes to see them laugh. They smiled and giggled, but again there was a hesitation, a subtle fear in their laughter. The billionaire noticed it and frowned, realizing that building trust would be a slow process. He knew he had to be patient, gentle, and observant. He spent the day with them, playing games, reading stories, and asking questions about school. The twins were cooperative but cautious, and their interactions seemed measured. as if they were testing him as much as he was testing them. Throughout the day, he kept an eye on the black maid, the woman who had been entrusted with the care of his children. She moved quietly around the house, performing her duties with precision, but he noticed a strange stiffness in her movements, a tension that he hadn't seen in other staff members. When she spoke to him, her voice was polite but brief, her eyes avoiding his. He couldn't explain why, but something about her behavior made him uneasy. He made a mental note to pay attention, to observe how she interacted with the twins, without making her feel accused or unwelcome. As the evening approached, the billionaire decided to take the twins outside to the garden. The fresh air and the warmth of the setting sun seemed to relax them slightly. He watched them run around, their laughter more genuine this time, but he still noticed moments of hesitation, quick glances toward the house, as if they were waiting for something unpleasant to happen. He felt a pang of worry but tried to focus on the positive, holding them close and joining in their games. He wanted them to feel safe, to feel the love he had longed to give them. After putting the twins to bed that night, he sat alone in the study, reflecting on the day. The house was quiet again, but the sense of unease lingered. He knew something was not right, that the picture-perfect appearance of the household masked hidden tensions and unspoken truths. He resolved to observe carefully, to ask questions gently, and to pay attention to the smallest details. His love for his children and his desire to protect them from harm gave him a renewed sense of determination. He would not rest until he fully understood what had happened during his absence. As he turned off the lights and prepared for bed, he promised himself one thing: he would uncover the truth. No matter how uncomfortable or painful it might be, the safety and happiness of his twins would be his priority, and he would not allow anyone to betray their trust again. With that thought in mind, he closed his eyes, ready to face whatever challenges the next day might bring, unaware that the first pieces of a shocking discovery were already beginning to take shape. The next morning, the billionaire woke up early, feeling a mixture of excitement and unease. He had promised himself to pay close attention to everything around him, and today would be the first day of truly observing the household. He dressed quickly and went to the kitchen, where the twins were already waiting for breakfast. Their faces lit up briefly when they saw him, but there was still a cautious distance in their smiles. He greeted them warmly and joined them at the table, determined to make the morning feel normal and comforting. As they ate, he asked about their school, friends, and recent activities. The twins answered politely, but he noticed they avoided eye contact when certain questions came up. There was something hidden behind their words, a hesitancy that told him they were holding back. He didn't push too hard, fearing that too much pressure could make them retreat further, but the unease in his chest grew. He made a mental note to observe every interaction carefully, especially those involving the black maid who had taken care of them in his absence. After breakfast, he decided to walk with the twins in the garden. The morning sun was warm, and the flowers were in full bloom, painting the yard in colors that brought back memories of happier times. The twins ran ahead, laughing lightly, but he noticed them occasionally glancing toward the house with worry in their eyes. Their play was cautious, as if they were testing whether it was safe to enjoy themselves. He called them over and sat down on a bench, trying to make conversation and coax more genuine smiles from them. They talked about simple things, their favorite flowers, games, and small adventures they had imagined, but he could still feel an underlying tension that he couldn't ignore. Throughout the morning, he watched the black maid carefully. She moved around with precision and quietness, but there was a strange stiffness in her movements. She avoided making eye contact with him and seemed nervous when the twins were around. Something about her behavior felt off, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. He decided to ask casual questions about daily routines and the children's activities, hoping to observe her reactions. Every answer she gave was polite yet carefully measured. There was a shadow in her expression, a tension he could not explain. Later in the day, he spent time in the twins' room, helping them with their toys and schoolwork. While they played, he asked them about their experiences with the maid, framing questions in a way that had felt like a conversation rather than an interrogation. The twins hesitated and spoke carefully, giving vague answers. He noticed small signs of fear in their gestures, a hand brushing their arm, quick glances at the door, slight stiffening of their bodies. It was subtle, but enough to make him realize that something was not right. The children's trust was not fully theirs yet. They were still carrying the weight of past experiences that he had been absent for. In the afternoon, he decided to review the children's rooms and belongings for any signs of discomfort or irregularity. He examined their clothes, their schoolwork, and their toys. Everything seemed in order on the surface, but there were small details that caught his attention. A slightly torn piece of clothing, a toy left in a corner that looked like it had been used roughly, and faint marks on the walls. None of it was conclusive, but it fueled his growing suspicion that something had gone wrong during his absence. The billionaire spent the rest of the afternoon talking to other staff members. He asked about the children's routines, meals, and behavior. Everyone spoke politely, but he noticed minor inconsistencies in their stories. One staff member mentioned a minor punishment that seemed stricter than expected. Another hinted at a day when the twins were unusually quiet and withdrawn. He listened carefully, piecing together the subtle clues, and felt a knot of worry tighten in his chest. There were patterns emerging that suggested the children had not been treated as gently as they deserved. As evening approached, he took the twins for a short walk around the garden once again. The sunlight was fading and the air was cooler now. He watched the twins interact with him, observing their hesitations and sudden nervous glances. He tried to make the experience as relaxed as possible, joining in their games and making jokes. Their smiles appeared more frequently, but he noticed that the moment they turned away, their expressions sometimes changed to worry or fear. He could feel the weight of unspoken memories pressing on them. Back in the house, he prepared dinner with the twins' help, wanting to create a warm and safe environment. The children were more relaxed in the kitchen, helping to set the table and laughing quietly at small mistakes. The billionaire felt a glimmer of hope that this shared activity might help them open up. Still, he remained watchful, noticing the maid moving in and out of the kitchen, her expression tense whenever he interacted with the children. The unease that had been growing in him all day now felt stronger, almost like a warning. After dinner, he read a bedtime story to the twins, hoping to strengthen their bond and make them feel secure. The children listened attentively, occasionally leaning close to him. When he finished, he tucked them into bed and stayed for a while, watching their slow, even breathing. He wondered what they had experienced over the years, what fear or discomfort had crept into their young lives. He promised himself that he would uncover the truth, protect them, and make sure their days were filled with safety and love. Once the twins were asleep, he sat alone in the living room, reviewing the day in his mind. Every detail, every glance, every small hesitation replayed vividly. The house, which should have felt like a place of joy and reunion, now seemed shadowed with subtle warnings. He realized that building trust and ensuring safety would require patience, attention, and perhaps difficult conversations ahead. The patterns he had observed could not be ignored. He resolved to continue watching, asking questions carefully, and paying attention to every subtle clue that might reveal what had been hidden from him. The billionaire knew that the next step was crucial. He needed to create an environment where the twins could feel safe to speak honestly. He planned to spend more time with them, asking gentle questions and observing their interactions with the staff. His goal was to uncover the full truth without frightening them or causing more tension. He was determined to rebuild trust, not just with the twins, but with the household as a whole, and to make sure that the children's happiness and safety became the foundation of his home once again. That night, as he lay in bed, he could not shake the feeling that the first pieces of a troubling truth were beginning to emerge. The twins' cautious behavior, the maid's nervousness, and the small inconsistencies in the household all hinted at something hidden. He felt a mix of worry, anger, and resolve. He would protect his children no matter what it took, and he would not rest until he fully understood what had happened during his absence. Tomorrow, he promised himself, he would begin to uncover the deeper layers of the reality that had quietly grown in his home while he was away. The following morning, the billionaire woke up with determination. He could no longer ignore the small signs he had seen, the nervous glances, the hesitation in the twins' movements, and the strange behavior of the maid. Today he would begin observing more closely, carefully trying to uncover what had been hidden during his absence. After breakfast, he spent some time with the twins in their playroom. He asked them to show him how they played, which toys they liked best, and what games they enjoyed. At first, the children answered quietly, giving polite but careful responses. Yet he noticed subtle signs that something was wrong. The way they sometimes stopped mid-action, glancing toward the door. How they flinched slightly when the maid came near. Their small gestures told him more than words ever could. He decided to spend more time watching, hoping to understand what fear or discomfort they had been carrying. While observing, he paid close attention to the maid. She moved around the house with precision, completing tasks without drawing attention to herself. But he noticed moments of tension. When she was near the twins, her hands shook slightly, her voice became softer, and she avoided eye contact with him. The billionaire realized that her behavior suggested both fear and secrecy. Something had happened, and it involved the children. Later in the day, he walked the twins through the garden, asking questions in a gentle and playful tone. He encouraged them to share stories about their daily life. The twins were cautious, giving short answers, but occasionally fragments of unsettling experiences slipped out. They described minor punishments, moments when they were made to stay quiet, and times they felt afraid to speak. The billionaire listened carefully, his heart tightening. It was not enough to fully understand, but it painted a picture that confirmed his worst fears. His children had been subjected to strict and possibly cruel treatment. Determined to get to the bottom of it, he decided to speak to the maid alone. He approached her gently, aware that confrontation could provoke fear or defensiveness. He asked her about the children's routines and health, trying to sound casual but attentive. At first, she denied any wrongdoing, her voice steady but eyes filled with tension. The billionaire remained calm, asking questions that required details rather than simple yes or no answers. Slowly, inconsistencies began to emerge. Her stories changed slightly each time he asked, and he noticed her hands fidgeting, her gaze dropping. Realizing that the situation required careful attention, he decided to look for tangible evidence. He checked the children's clothes, noting small marks and worn patches, examined their toys and bedding for signs of rough handling, and reviewed their schedules. Each discovery added to his growing concern. While nothing was overtly dangerous, the combination of subtle physical signs and behavioral cues from the twins painted a disturbing picture. He realized the children had been living in an environment that, though outwardly controlled, had caused them fear and discomfort. In the afternoon, he spent more time with the twins in their room, asking them questions indirectly about the maid's behavior. The children's initial reluctance began to soften as they felt safe in his presence. Small details started to emerge, moments when they were told to remain still, when they were corrected harshly, and when their small achievements were dismissed. He listened quietly, nodding and reassuring them that it was not their fault. He could feel their trust beginning to rebuild, slowly but surely, as they realized that their father was there to protect them. The billionaire's heart ached as he watched them speak. Their innocence had been interrupted, their sense of safety shaken. Yet despite fear and uncertainty, there was hope in their eyes when they looked at him. They were trying to trust him, to believe that he could make things right. This realization strengthened his resolve to confront the situation decisively and ensure the children's well-being. Later, he confronted the maid more directly, maintaining a composed but firm tone. He presented observations and questions, pressing gently but persistently. At first, she tried to maintain composure, denying wrongdoing and deflecting blame. But under careful questioning, cracks appeared in her story. She admitted that she had followed strict instructions from previous staff, but claimed her actions were meant to enforce discipline. Her voice wavered and her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and regret. The billionaire listened carefully, not ready to forgive, but trying to understand the depth of the situation. He also spoke with other staff members quietly, piecing together their accounts. They provided fragmented information, moments when the children were overly quiet, when they had been scolded excessively, and when their routines were rigidly enforced. Each piece added to a clearer picture. The twins had been living under strict and sometimes cruel supervision, never allowed the freedom to express themselves fully. The billionaire realized that the household, despite its outward appearance of order, had been a place of control rather than comfort. As evening approached, he took the twins outside once again, this time for a longer walk. He encouraged them to play freely, observing how they moved, laughed, and interacted. Slowly, they began to relax, their steps lighter and smiles more genuine. He felt a mix of relief and sadness, relief that they were beginning to feel safe in his presence, sadness for the experiences they had endured in his absence. After dinner, he spent time talking with the twins about their feelings, gently prompting them to share memories or concerns. They hesitated, but when reassured, small details emerged. They described moments when the maid had been overly strict, when they were told to stay quiet, and when they felt small and powerless. Each word hurt him, but he remained calm, offering comfort and support. He wanted them to understand that it was not their fault, and that he would protect them from any further harm. That night, as he watched the twins sleep, he reflected on the day. The discoveries were painful, but they also revealed an opportunity to make a profound change. The children needed love, care, and freedom from fear. The household needed restructuring, and the adults responsible needed accountability. He resolved to act decisively, ensuring that his home became a place of warmth, trust, and safety for his children. He knew the process would not be easy. Rebuilding trust would take time, patience, and understanding. Confronting the maid and addressing past behaviors would be uncomfortable, but necessary. The billionaire also realized that he had to balance firmness with compassion, ensuring that the twins felt secure while holding adults accountable for their actions. He was determined not to repeat past mistakes and to create a nurturing environment where the children could grow happily and confidently. As he finally lay down to rest, he promised himself that tomorrow he would take further steps to uncover the full truth. He would continue observing, asking questions, and providing comfort and reassurance to the twins. He understood that the situation was delicate and required careful handling, but he was ready to face the challenges. The first pieces of the cruel truth had begun to emerge, and he would not stop until the full picture was clear. His children's safety, trust, and happiness would be his priority above all else, and he would ensure that their home became a place of love, security, and freedom from fear. The next day, the billionaire woke early, filled with a sense of urgency. He knew that the subtle signs he had observed over the past days were pointing toward something serious. He resolved to act carefully, balancing his need to uncover the truth with the need to protect his twins from further stress or fear. He dressed quietly and made his way to the kitchen where the twins were having breakfast. Their smiles greeted him, but he noticed again the cautious hesitation in their eyes. He spoke gently, keeping the atmosphere light, and tried to reassure them with warmth and attention. After breakfast, he spent time observing the twins as they played. He asked them to show him their favorite games and how they spent their days. The children were more open than before, but still careful with their words. They described rules and routines, mentioning instances when the maid had been strict or corrective. While they did not explicitly express fear, their body language, hesitant movements, nervous glances, and stiff posture told a different story. The billionaire's heart ached as he recognized the quiet pain and confusion they had endured. Realizing that his absence had left a gap filled with harsh discipline rather than care and affection, he decided it was time to confront the maid more directly, but with caution. He asked her to join him in the study, speaking in a calm but firm tone. He presented his observations, noting inconsistencies and details that suggested the twins had experienced unnecessary strictness and discomfort. At first, she maintained a composed demeanor, but as he pressed gently yet persistently, her confidence wavered. She admitted to being overly strict, justifying her actions as following household rules. Her voice trembled slightly, and her eyes reflected a mix of guilt and fear. The billionaire listened quietly, processing her explanations while keeping his focus on protecting his children. Next, he spoke with other staff members individually. Each conversation provided small pieces of the larger puzzle. They described instances when the twins had been unusually quiet or hesitant, moments of excessive correction, and times when they seemed anxious around the maid. Every detail reinforced the growing understanding that the children had been subjected to a level of control that went beyond normal discipline. The billionaire realized that, while the household had appeared orderly and well-maintained, it had not been a safe or nurturing environment for the twins. Determined to provide comfort to his children, he spent the afternoon with them outside, engaging in games and encouraging them to express themselves freely. The fresh air and natural surroundings helped them relax, and for moments their laughter was genuine and unguarded. He watched closely, noting every small sign of hesitation or discomfort. Slowly, he guided them to talk about how they felt when the maid was near. They shared brief moments of unease, describing rules that had been too strict and punishments that had seemed harsh. The billionaire listened without judgment, offering reassurance and validating their feelings, emphasizing that none of it was their fault. As the day progressed, he reflected on the broader implications. He realized that action was needed not only to address the behavior of the maid, but also to restructure the household's routines and interactions. He wanted to ensure that every adult in the house understood the importance of safety, kindness, and respect in caring for the twins. This realization strengthened his determination to make immediate changes. He knew that rebuilding trust would require consistency, clear boundaries, and an environment where the twins could feel secure and valued. In the evening, he engaged the twins in a calm discussion about their preferences, likes and dislikes, creating a space where they could express themselves openly. They spoke more freely than before, sharing thoughts and small experiences from previous days. Each word provided him with insight into their feelings and needs. He noted how small gestures, such as holding hands, offering gentle guidance, and encouraging creativity, helped them relax and feel safe. He understood that restoring trust and confidence would be a gradual process, requiring patience and attentive care. The billionaire then had a serious discussion with the maid in the dining room, with a firm but measured tone. He explained the observations he had made, highlighting the impact of strict and overly controlling behavior on the twins' emotional well-being. He emphasized the need for accountability, while also allowing space for her to explain her actions. She admitted to following old routines and rules without considering the emotional effects on the children. Her voice reflected remorse, and she expressed understanding of the mistakes made. The billionaire acknowledged her honesty, but made it clear that her behavior could not continue, and corrective action would follow. Afterward, he returned to the twins, spending the remainder of the evening reading stories and engaging in gentle play. He encouraged them to share their thoughts and feelings, praising their bravery and speaking about experiences that had made them uncomfortable. Their smiles became more frequent, their movements more relaxed, and their laughter more authentic. He felt a sense of relief knowing that they were beginning to regain a sense of safety and trust in his presence. That night, as he observed the twins sleeping peacefully, he reflected on the day's events. The confrontation with the maid, the conversations with staff, and the open discussions with the children had begun to reveal the full scope of the situation. He recognized the need for continued vigilance and structured support, but also the importance of fostering an environment of warmth, love, and freedom from fear. The trust he was rebuilding with the twins was fragile but growing, and he was determined to protect it. He resolved to take further steps in the coming days to ensure that the household was transformed into a place of security and nurturing. This included clear communication of expectations for all staff, consistent routines that prioritize the children's well-being, and ongoing engagement with the twins to understand their evolving needs and emotions. He also planned to implement professional guidance, seeking input from experts to support the children's emotional recovery and resilience. As he finally retired to his own room, the billionaire felt a complex mixture of emotions. There was sorrow for the experiences his children had endured, but also hope for their future and determination to correct the past. The first pieces of the cruel truth had been uncovered, and he understood the gravity of the situation. Yet he was ready to face the challenge head-on, committed to creating a home where his children could thrive, feel safe, and be genuinely happy. He knew the path ahead would require patience, vigilance, and love, but he was prepared to walk it every step of the way, ensuring that his children would never again face fear in the place they should call home. The following morning, the billionaire woke with a clear sense of purpose. The events of the past days had revealed unsettling truths, but they also illuminated the path forward. He knew the time had come to take decisive action to secure the safety and well-being of his twins. The house, which had once felt tense and uncertain, needed to transform into a place of warmth, trust, and security. He began the day by spending time with the twins in the garden. The children, now more relaxed around him, laughed and ran freely. Yet he noticed small moments of hesitation, subtle glances toward the house and the maid. These gestures reminded him that while progress had been made, the shadow of past experiences lingered. He engaged them in gentle conversation, asking about their feelings, what made them happy, and what worried them. The twins spoke cautiously, but they began to open up about small fears and concerns that had been part of their daily lives. The billionaire listened intently, validating their emotions and reassuring them that he would protect them. After the morning outside, he held a family meeting, carefully structured to include the twins, the maid, and other staff members. He addressed the situation directly but calmly, explaining that strict and harsh treatment would no longer be tolerated. He emphasized that every child deserved respect, care, and understanding. The maid listened quietly, her expression a mixture of guilt and apprehension. He made it clear that her behavior had caused the twins discomfort and fear, and that corrective measures were necessary. She acknowledged her mistakes and promised to follow new rules that prioritized the children's well-being. He then began reorganizing the household routines. Activities were structured to provide consistency without rigidity, allowing the twins to feel secure while encouraging freedom and play. He personally supervised meals, playtime, and study sessions, ensuring that the children felt safe and supported. He also engaged in lighthearted games, encouraging laughter and joy while observing how the twins responded. Their smiles became more natural, their movements more relaxed, and their interactions more confident. The billionaire felt a sense of hope, knowing that positive experiences were beginning to replace fear. Throughout the day, he spoke individually with the twins, gently exploring memories and experiences. They described moments when they had been corrected too harshly or told to remain quiet, and they shared small fears that had persisted over time. The billionaire responded with empathy and reassurance, emphasizing that none of it was their fault and that he would protect them from any future harm. He praised their bravery for sharing these experiences and encouraged them to continue speaking openly whenever they felt ready. In the afternoon, he held a private meeting with the maid and other staff members. He clarified expectations, outlined new guidelines for caring for the children, and stressed the importance of emotional well-being over strict discipline. He explained the impact of past actions on the twins and emphasized that accountability and understanding were essential for the household's transformation. The staff listened attentively, some expressing remorse, others acknowledging the need for change. The billionaire made it clear that while mistakes could be forgiven, the safety and emotional health of the twins would always come first. Later, he spent time with the twins exploring creative activities. They painted, built simple models, and shared stories. Each moment provided a chance for the children to express themselves freely, without fear of correction or judgment. The billionaire observed how they interacted, noting moments of genuine joy and confidence. He encouraged their creativity, celebrated their achievements, and reinforced the idea that their thoughts and feelings mattered. Slowly, the children's laughter became more frequent, and their hesitation diminished, signaling that trust was being rebuilt. As evening approached, he invited the twins to help with dinner preparations. The activity provided a relaxed and interactive environment, allowing them to engage in meaningful tasks while enjoying shared moments with their father. The children's enthusiasm grew, and they began to ask questions, share opinions, and participate with confidence. The billionaire encouraged this curiosity, emphasizing that their voices mattered and that their contributions were valued. The experience strengthened their bond and further instilled a sense of safety and belonging. After dinner, he sat with the twins in their room, reading stories and discussing their day. The children spoke more openly, recounting small achievements and expressing excitement about upcoming activities. The billionaire praised their bravery, acknowledged their feelings, and reinforced the message that they were safe, loved, and protected. These moments created a foundation of trust and security, helping the twins understand that the household had changed and that their well-being was now the priority. Before bedtime, he reflected on the progress of the past days. The discovery of past harsh treatment had been painful, but it had led to crucial changes. The twins were beginning to regain confidence, trust, and a sense of safety. The household routines were restructured, the staff had been guided to understand the importance of emotional care, and the twins were experiencing genuine mo as the twins drifted off to sleep. The billionaire sat quietly, considering the journey ahead. He recognized that rebuilding trust and emotional security would take time, patience, and consistent attention. He resolved to remain actively involved in their daily lives, to provide support, guidance, and love, and to ensure that the children never again felt fear in their home. The lessons of the past days had strengthened his resolve and deepened his understanding of the importance of emotional care, empathy, and active parenting. The night settled around the estate, calm and quiet. The billionaire felt a sense of purpose and hope, knowing that the steps he had taken were moving the household toward a safer, happier, and more nurturing environment. The twins' trust was growing, their confidence returning, and the shadows of fear were slowly lifting. He knew the path ahead would require continued effort, but he was prepared to walk it every day, ensuring that his children's happiness and well-being were always the priority. In the weeks that followed, the billionaire maintained a consistent presence in the twins' lives. He engaged in play, learning, and conversation, fostering a deep bond built on trust and love. The maid and staff adapted to the new routines, prioritizing emotional support and gentle guidance. The twins flourished under this renewed care, their laughter more genuine, their curiosity thriving, and their sense of security solidifying. The household transformed into a place of warmth, comfort, and happiness, where the children could grow freely and safely. By the end of this journey, the billionaire had not only uncovered a painful truth, but had also created lasting change. The twins were thriving, the household had been restructured, and the adults involved had been guided to understand the importance of empathy and care. The experience strengthened the bonds of family, trust, and love, ensuring that the home became a sanctuary where the children's well-being was the most important priority. The billionaire's determination, patience, and commitment had turned a troubling situation into an opportunity for healing and growth, leaving a lasting impact on the lives of his beloved children. Immense of joy and security, the billionaire felt relief, knowing that the foundation for healing had been laid. As the twins drifted off to sleep, the billionaire sat quietly, considering the journey ahead. He recognized that rebuilding trust and emotional security would take time, patience, and consistent attention. He resolved to remain actively involved in their daily lives, to provide support, guidance, and love, and to ensure that the children never again felt fear in their home. The lessons of the past days had strengthened his resolve and deepened his understanding of the importance of emotional care, empathy, and active parenting. The night settled around the estate, calm and quiet. The billionaire felt a sense of purpose and hope, knowing that the steps he had taken were moving the household toward a safer, happier, and more nurturing environment. The twins' trust was growing, their confidence returning, and the shadows of fear were slowly lifting. He knew the path ahead would require continued effort, but he was prepared to walk it every day, ensuring that his children's happiness and well-being were always the priority. In the weeks that followed, the billionaire maintained a consistent presence in the twins' lives. He engaged in play, learning, and conversation, fostering a deep bond built on trust and love. The maid and staff adapted to the new routines, prioritizing emotional support and gentle guidance. The twins flourished under this renewed care, their laughter more genuine, their curiosity thriving, and their sense of security solidifying. The household transformed into a place of warmth, comfort, and happiness where the children could grow freely and safely.